write about you. Doggone it. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, wonderful. So,
talk to me.
How are you dealing with this? Because, you know, this is huge, and it's not like you were schlepping before, you know, you're Golden Globe nominated, you starred opposite George Clooney, but this is arguably going to launch you into the stratosphere. You know what I mean? How are you dealing with this?
A big reason that I wanted to do this movie is I sort of saw it as this beautiful platform. You know, in the title alone, it talks diverging, right? So diverging from the mainstream, diverging from mediocrity, diverging from sort of what is socially accepted, and finding your passion and finding what you want to dedicate your life to, regardless of what mainstream or society says, can be a little bit dangerous, and it can be a big risk, and you have to be really brave in order to do that, and you also have to have a lot of confidence, which stems from self-love. And once you establish a sense of self-love, you really are able to be in service of others more, which allows you to be more selfless, which really is who my character Triss ends up to be at the end. She doesn't abide, and she doesn't conform to society's rules and regulations, and therefore is considered dangerous, because she diverges from the mainstream.
This comes with like a set-in fan base.
Yeah.
So talk to me about like how they received you, or have you heard anything from the fans, or how you dealing with that? And does it intimidate you or excite you?
No, I don't really get intimidated by the fan base or anything, because I feel like I don't really know it very well. I'm not very involved in social media, you know, so it's not something that I'm very aware of. I think it's great that the book has a pre-established audience. That's really nice, you know. But I don't really know too much about it.
Okay, well then that's probably actually better, because it probably helps you just focus and do your thing, right?
When I worked on a movie called The Descendants, I worked with George Clooney, and our director is Alexander Payne, and they both said this to me separately, which I thought was very funny. But they go, I remember George was like, you know, whoever the director is and whoever's #1 on the call sheet has a major responsibility in the making of a film. Those are the two people who arrive on set every day and determine what the vibe is going to be for the entire shoot. If those two people show up grumpy and tired and out of whack, then that's going to set the tone, and it's going to ripple down, and everyone in the crew is going to feel the same way. But if those two people show up ready to go with energy and excitement and gratitude and spunk, that's going to ripple out. And so it was neat, you know, for him to say that. And he goes, and one day, Shay, you might be in a position where you will be #1 on the call sheet. And that's the responsibility that you'll have to bring to a set. And on this movie, I definitely felt that way. You know, I could definitely see that if I showed up and I was fully being me and expressing myself in a happy way, or expressing myself in a positive manner, I think it definitely influenced those around me, as well as Neil, when Neil came to set. So it is a responsibility, and it's a lovely responsibility to have. And you know, kind of what a gift to be able to show up and be yourself, and then see how that affects other people.
One of the coolest things I read about you was during the casting that you were actually on purpose being kidnapped into Maine for 2 weeks, like to be dropped in the wilderness and live off the grid. Is this accurate?
No. I mean, that's kind of like a bunch of different things put together.
Mixed all together?
Yeah, but
please clarify.
Yeah, man. No, I did study some wilderness skills out in like the boonies, and then I sort of realized, I was like, wow, okay, that's great that I know how to make fire, but now I live in an urban environment, so well, how do I survive in a concrete jungle? So
how would you describe yourself? Do you think that you're dauntless inside, or?
Definitely, yeah. I think I'm pretty tough.
I like that.
I'm like the toughest hippie you'll ever meet.
Oh my God, what a great line. I'm like, okay, so I don't know if I'd say I'm a tough hippie. I'm definitely a hippie.
I love it.
Yeah. So I'm like, but I don't know if I'm the toughest. But one of the things I liked, one of the things that I think disturbed me about the film, which I thought was good, was the idea that your own individuality and your humanity could be dangerous to society.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the idea that you had to choose a faction. Mm-hmm. Like, I think there's a little bit of me in everything, and maybe some things are more dominant. But what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's sort of like, you can relate it to life, right? Like, look at Nelson Mandela, you know, like, they threw him in jail because he was whatever, so he was in jail, and he came out loving people even more, and he was different, and society was sort of surprised by that and didn't understand it, and felt threatened by it, and all he was just this, you know, beautiful sort of figure of love and light, and among so many other things. Or you look at anybody in history who's made a big difference, at first they're sort of considered dangerous because they don't make sense, because they're not conforming to mediocrity. And I really loved that that was a theme in this book, you know, like diverging from the mainstream, doing something different, dedicating yourself to your own tribe, to your own passions.
The imagery that Hollywood puts out is not always so cool, where it's like you got, you know, strong, brilliant, loving as well, with all these different things that you're, you know, bringing to the screen, and how girls are going to sort of see themselves in you.
I hope that girls see that, you know, it's important to do you, and it's important to not compare yourself against other people or other external things. The second that you start comparing, you just leads to despair. Compare to despair.
Agreed. And finally, Theo. Yum?
Theo's yum. He's in his late 20s. He majored in philosophy at university. He's traveled the world, and then he decided to become an actor. So he had a whole life before this, and I think he recognizes and he knows and he respects the fact that it could all be taken away at any moment. And he celebrates his success, and he's grateful for his success, but he doesn't think that his, you know, burps don't stink. You know, he's very grounded, and he's very, I guess grateful just keeps coming to mind. He's just a classy dude, and he's also an incredible actor, and he's very intelligent. So when we first met each other, I think we both bonded over the fact that we saw each other's truths, and we recognized them, and we respected them immediately. And then from there, we sort of stemmed out and became friends.
Thank you so much. What a darling.
Thank you.